told myself I would never play Slay the Spire. I don't need a deck building roguelike to take over my life. My local fighting game group has a channel for people who play hellacious amounts of Slay the Spire, and while I go in there to check on them on occasion, usually just to make sure they're fed and watered, I was fine staying at arm's distance. So of course they had to make a Slay the Spire game with my favorite anime girl as the main character. I am not immune to propaganda. Yes, Yohane Slay the Spire, which is what I'm calling it because I ain't saying all that, is literally Slay the Spire with a fresh coat of paint over it. My beautiful, darling Fail daughter card battles her way through random maps of encounters in hopes to battle and save the evil versions of her. I'm getting a note from my producer. Do not assume everyone is familiar with Yohane. Well, I mean, that's on fucking them. Yoshiko Tsushima is one of the characters in the second Love Live anime, Love Live Sunshine, aka the good one. She's a first-year student who has a persona named Yohane, the fallen angel, an angel who God cast from the heavens and took on a human body. That's correct. She is a completely delulu, chuny cringe teenager, and without a doubt, the star of the show. Yohane steals every scene she is in. She's such a wild confluence of misplaced confidence and brazen delusion that it is impossible not to fall in love with her. In case you thought the idolism in my name was just a bit, I actually like idol anime a normal amount, and Yohane is my favorite idol by a country mile. I don't own a whole lot of anime merch, but what I do own is Yohane themed, and my own idol persona was modeled after her rock punk outfit. Because my tits are fat and my taste is objectively correct, as if it's my fault, Yohane was granted a spin-off in the form of a fantasy alternative universe called Yohane the Parhelion. This includes an anime adaptation and video games plural. Just for context, there are 9 main girls in Love Live Sunshine, and no one else has fucking video games with an S on the end. Yohane isn't even the main character. That would be Chica. She's just that stupidly popular. So, back to the game. This is literally Slay the Spire with the Yohane the Parhelion cast. Yohane comes into ownership of a magic mirror that has stricken her friends ill, and she has to warp inside to the mirror world where magic is real and card battle her way through it to save her chums. Outside of everything featuring the visages of the Aqua's idol group, there isn't anything inherently Love Live about this. So, let's talk about the game. Yohane Slay the Spire is a roguelike deck builder with meta progression. That means A, the game is going to be random every time. B, the system mechanics by which you play the game are done with a deck building system where you gain and use a variety of cards to defeat enemies. And C, both successes and failures will loop back to the game in a way that permanently makes you stronger or more capable as you go on. You do runs of the game, sometimes you make story progress, always you get progress points that allow you to boost Yohane's max HP or attack power, or give her new outfits that change her starting loadout slightly. And, that's kind of it. It's hard to explain just exactly what's so gripping about these types of games without sitting you down and saying, go. It's one thing that the presentation is top-notch. Yohane and all of the rest of Aqua's look stunning and animate beautifully, but it all boils down to the thrill of starting a run and seeing how you can snap the game over your knee while it tries to do the same to you. The beginning of every run is rough. You only have access to the most absolute basic in terms of verbs. A couple of attacks and a couple shields. The way battles work out is that you trade turns with your opponents. Most effects only last for a turn, so it becomes about trying to set up everything efficiently. Stacking a bunch of shield on a turn your opponent isn't attacking doesn't make sense, because that shield isn't going to hold over to the next turn. Likewise, debuffing the enemy's defense will get you nowhere if you aren't going to spend the rest of that turn attacking while they have their guard down. It's going back up at the end of the turn. As the run progresses and you gain more cards with cooler abilities and charms with powerful effects, the fun of Yohane Slay the Spire becomes optimizing. Squeezing every little piece of damage or shielding out of your hands is intoxicating. It makes you feel like a brain genius. You start understanding how cards play with each other, how some cards help you build for the next turn, how to take the systems in front of you and overload it with charms and cards to make you feel like you are breaking the mechanics. When you get the battle where you turn one all of your opponents with the most perfect set of plays, it feels like the SAT test cowers in fear when you enter the room. At a certain point, the challenge becomes equal parts the enemy in front of you and balancing all the things you need to remember. When you have like fucking 15 charms and 3 summons active, there are a laundry list of effects to consider and plan around before you even rip a card from your hands. And because the challenge keeps ramping, you worry more and more about the misplay, doing something in the wrong order, or not thinking about a charm effect, or not considering a looming status debuff. In this sense, failure in Yohane Slay the Spire feels less like the game being unfair and brutal, and more like a personal failing because you have been given such strength, but your peanut brain can only hold so many things at once. In short, it's intoxicating. But if I'm being honest, once I was able to do a full run clear, I was pretty done with the game. I did a second clear just to say so, and it was still enjoyable to play, but there wasn't much of a motivation to keep going other than some unlocks and challenges. That grip really wasn't there anymore. And honestly, that's fine. I had a great time with the game. I got what the story and game said was the ending, and now I can move on to something else. Maybe it didn't have the rabid addiction I was expecting, but I would still highly recommend it.